Good afternoon, Year 4. I hope you're all right. It is Miss Noak with your final wonder for this week. And we have got Scarf, and we're going to continue our topic of keeping ourselves safe and the world around us. So I will get on with it to try and keep this video nice and short for you for your last learning episode of this. For Scarf today then, our what is specifically to understand some of the key risks and effects of smoking and drinking by exploring the world so that we can understand that actually increasing numbers, so more and more young people are choosing not to smoke, and actually not everybody drinks alcohol. Okay, so we're going to understand a little bit more about drinking and smoking today. So let me make these a little bigger for you. So what choices can we make? What are the choices that we can make? What choices can you make? What choices can I make? What choices can your parents make? We all have slightly different choices that we can make. So what choices can we make? So I would like you to start by having a little think about that one. You don't need to write these ones down, but I would like you to have a little think about that one for me. Okay, so we can make choices on what we eat, who we play with, what we do in our spare time, when we do things, who our friends are, things like that. So there are a lot of day-to-day choices that we can make about our lives. But do we always make the same choices as our friends? Do you make the same choice as your friend? Would I make the same choices as all of my friends? So pause and have a little think about that one for me. So no, we don't always make the same choices as our friends. There are some times when I might choose to go swimming one day and my friends might not want to. And we spoke a little bit about this in the conflict and resolution lesson last half term. But there are times when our friends want to make different choices to us, and that's fine, because in the conflict resolution lesson, we can come to a negotiation or come to a resolution where everybody is happy if it's to do with the activity we want to do. If it's to do with making a choice about the game you want to play and things like that. But if it's about choices that aren't to do with an activity that you do with your friends, then that's absolutely fine if you make different choices to them. Even something down to the choices, the choice of colour that you like and things like that. It's completely and absolutely okay to make different choices to our friends, especially if they're the choices that we really, really want to make deep down. And it's even more important to make a different choice then, because if it's what you really want, then making that choice is being true to yourself. So when might we make different choices to our friends? I've tried to give a few examples, but I've not really given you many great examples. So when might you have chosen to do or chosen something different to your friends? Have a little think for me. So we might choose to play a different game, we might choose to eat a different food, listen to a different music, have a different hobby, wear different style of clothes, have a different haircut. All of those things are different choices that we make from our friends, and we are okay with making those choices because we don't all want to be the same. So it's really important that we, like I said, are true to ourselves and make our different choices no matter what. So this links a little bit to last Scarf lesson on medicines, but who makes choices for us when we are younger? So there are some things that when we are younger that we can make the choices ourselves. For example, if we play in the sand or play in the water, things like that, we can make our own choices in those situations, but bigger choices and choices that have more of an impact are often made by parents, carers, sometimes teachers. Adults generally tend to make those other choices for us. Okay, so we've talked a lot about choice, and this is going to feed into our next part, because smoking and drinking are a choice. And as we grow older, again, it might be a choice that our friends start to make, and it might be a choice that we don't want to make. And that is absolutely fine, that's great. And if it's a choice you do want to make, then as long as it's a choice you want to make, you need to think about how you feel and not do things just to be making the same choices as your friends. Okay, because now we know we can make different choices to our friends. So why would that change when we grow up? It doesn't. You can still make different choices to your friends, okay? Okay, so our next question is that Professor Ozone's robot, I don't know if he's been in some of our previous Scarf lessons, but there is a robot called ED6, and he wants to act like humans, and he's very curious about the world around him. So we're going to help him today by answering some questions on smoking and drinking, because Professor Ozone's robot wants to know a little bit more. Okay, so he is going to ask questions about why humans choose to drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, because he knows that actually they can cause harm to our bodies. So we're going to have a go at answering his questions. Okay, so I would like you to pause the video when I've read through the questions, and I'd like you to write a little answer to each question for me. So maybe write smoking and number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and give a little brief answer for me. This is the written part. It can be in your jotters. It's not in your books. Just in your jotters, make notes on those answers for me. So there's 5 questions. Do most people smoke in our country, in the UK? Do most people smoke? Do you think more people are smoking now than in the past? Why do you think some people choose to smoke? And why do most people choose not to smoke? And finally, what laws and rules are there that control smoking in the country? Okay, so pause and have a little answer of those for me. Super. So I'm going to go through the answers for you, just so that we have more of an awareness about smoking in the country. So there 20% of people in the UK were smokers in 2012, nearly 10 years ago now, but 20% of people, so that's 1/5 or 1 in 5 people would be a smoker in 2012. Are more people, put your teeth in. Are more people smoking now than in the past? So is it more now, or was it more in the past? So in 2006, 26% of people were smokers. And then 6 years later, in 2012, it was 20%. Okay, I'm going to pause and find out the statistic for now, actually, because 2012 is still 10 years ago. So let's find out the statistic for now. Okay, so I've had a little Google, and this is a really interesting lesson, guys. I'm really interested in this. So in 2019, I think it's a government study, found that 14.1% of people smoke in the UK in 2019. So that is going down, okay? And that is why we're having a look at this lesson, because more and more people are choosing not to smoke. So 26 down to 20, down to 14.1. Okay, so it is going down, and that's something that we are explaining to ED6's robot, sorry. So why do you think some people might choose to smoke? So might be to look cool, because people see other people smoking, and in that case it might be choosing to do something that's the same as your friends instead of doing something different. So that could be a little bit like we talked about at the start. It might be to look cool, it might be to fit in, it might be because others are seen doing it, it might be as a reaction to when, for example, someone might feel stressed. Often people then reach for a cigarette, so it could be in response to a feeling in their bodies. So it could be a number of things, and we don't want to assume why people smoke, because it could be a whole number of things. Why then do you think most people choose not to smoke? So there are some reasons that people do. Why might people not smoke? So it might be because of the health risks, because obviously on smoking, on cigarette packets and things, and on the TV, there are lots of adverts about the health risks. And I think that that probably has a lot to do with the decrease in smoking. 26% to 20% to 14% is a big decrease. So I think the very, very intense advertising campaign probably has a lot to do with that, because it's very vivid, lots of strong images about the health impacts that smoking can have. So I think that health risks are something that majorly make people choose not to smoke. It can prevent people doing sport because it impacts on the lungs and breathing. So it could be to do with that. It could be because it's expensive. I know the price has increased. One of my family members smokes, and he said that the price has increased a lot over the last few years as taxes have been put on smoking. Again, to deter people, to try and stop people from smoking, taxes have been put on buying cigarettes. So that would potentially have a big part to play because it's expensive. And if people are regular smokers, then that is a big chunk of money being spent regularly. So it might be that they weigh up the money weight of it. It could be the smell. It could be because cigarette smoke has quite a strong smell. So it might be that people don't want that smell around, and so they choose not to smoke because of it. So there are a lot of reasons people might choose to, and a lot of reasons people might not choose to smoke. And then finally, what laws and rules are there that control smoking in the UK? So one of the main ones is that it is against the law to sell cigarettes to anyone under the age of 18. So that hopefully limits the amount of people that are smoking, so that people can only choose to smoke when they are over the age of 18, when they are beginning to be classed as an adult and to be able to make their own choices in the world. When they reach 18, that's one of the reasons that it's against the law to sell under the age of 18. So that's one of the laws that are in place to control and maybe restrict smoking. And it's also become gradually against the law to smoke in public places. So inside, for example, theme parks, even though they're open, there are set places for people to smoke so that it's not everywhere. Not allowed to smoke indoors anymore. Used to be able to smoke indoors a very long time ago. Used to be able to smoke indoors in certain places, and that's now not allowed. So there are limits and restrictions to keep smoking under control and limit it to certain places and certain people and certain areas. So that's smoking. And so now hopefully we are starting to reach our why and reach our what and understand the risks and effects of smoking, and also understand that people are choosing less and less to smoke. That wasn't grammatically correct. Less and less people are choosing to smoke. And that will now develop as we understand the same risks and effects of drinking, and that less and less people are choosing to drink alcohol. Not everybody chooses to drink alcohol. So I've kind of given you a bit of a clue for that first one. Does everybody drink alcohol in the UK? Number two, when do people drink alcohol? So set this out like you're smoking, underline alcohol, and then 5 numbers. So when do people drink? Why do people need to think carefully about whether they drink alcohol or how much they drink? Why would alcohol affect a child's body more than an adult's body? And what laws and rules are there to control alcohol in this country? Just like the smoking, how do we control drinking in the UK? Pause and have a little write down of a few notes for those answers for me. Okay, so we have the answer to number 1. Some adults do and some adults don't. And again, that's choice, like we're talking about choice this whole learning episode. Some adults do and some adults don't. I don't know if we have statistics for that. Let me have a look. In 2017, so 4 years ago, 57% of people that answered a survey said that they drink alcohol. Now that survey not everybody in the whole entire UK was asked to fill in that survey, so it's not necessarily an exact number, but of those people that were asked, 57%, so just over half of those people chose to drink alcohol. So that's quite close to being half and half. So that just shows that it is a complete choice that some adults do and some adults don't. And I would say that as I have grown up, I have noticed less and less people drinking, and I've noticed more and more people posting online about the benefits of not drinking and things like that. So there is a movement, like with smoking, as I think people are beginning to grow up, and as the generations come up, I've noticed on my own sort of social media accounts, I've noticed a lot of people choosing not to drink and showing that they're choosing not to drink. So again, like with smoking, it's something that I think is on the decline. It's going down a little. So when do people drink alcohol? It could be at a party, a celebration of some sort, like a wedding. So often alcohol is in a situation where people are celebrating. It could be when catching up with friends, or it could be used when someone's worried about something similar to smoking, when feeling stressed or worried, some people might reach for a cigarette or alcohol to help that feeling. So it could be linked to feelings as well. So why do we need to think carefully about whether to drink or not, and actually how much is drunk? So in the short term, alcohol can impact, and there are effects relating to balance. So if people have had a lot of alcohol or quite a big amount of alcohol, often their balance can go and their coordination, which is why it's against the law to drive whilst having had a drink, because coordination, being able to respond to something when driving, for example, braking, is slower because alcohol has slowed the coordination and impacted balance and things like that. It can make, if consumed in a big quantity, it can impact someone being sick and can cause people to vomit. And it can also impact sleep. It can stop people, restrict people from having a really deep whole sleep, and instead they might have a lighter sleep, and so they wake up feeling dehydrated because the alcohol takes some of the water from people's bodies, so they wake up feeling dehydrated. And then on top of that, a lack of sleep can leave them feeling very tired and feeling not as good when they've woken up. And then there are long-term effects as well. So it can affect the liver, it can cause heart damage, and studies have shown that there could be some risk of cancers as well. As with smoking, risk of cancers, health problems and things like that. So there is that balance of effects, I think that's what I'm going for, effects that can come about because of smoking and drinking. So why would alcohol affect a child's body more than it would affect an adult's body? Because a child is still growing. So a child's liver, for example, if we're looking at the long-term effects, a child's liver is not fully developed. And so to have an impact on that by drinking can impact the growth of that. And drinking can impact and maybe stop, in some cases, the growth of parts of organs and things like that of a child. So it's really important that we know that there's that huge difference, and that is why, we'll link into the next question, there are laws to stop children drinking alcohol until they are an adult and they can make that choice, because it's really important that we know that children are still growing. They need healthy choices and a healthy lifestyle in order to grow to the full potential and the full health that they can. And so those restrictions, like I mentioned, it is illegal to buy alcohol under the age of 18 or to sell alcohol to somebody under the age of 18. Okay, there are slightly different laws about drinking at home. I think it's a younger age, because at home it's then controlled by an adult making that choice for a child. But I don't know exactly the age limits and things like that. But it is illegal, completely against the law. People can be sent to jail, to prison for selling alcohol to somebody under the age of 18. And so nobody is allowed to buy alcohol until they are over 18. So they are some of the limits put in place to try and make sure that drinking is a choice that people can have when they are old enough to make that choice. So I think that is the end of the lesson. So I hope that you now feel more knowledgeable about drinking and smoking and the fact that it's on a decline in the country. People are choosing to do it less. And also that little starter that we did about choice, just to remind you that even whether it comes to alcohol or smoking when you're older or not, the choices that you make are your own choices, and you are allowed to make different choices to your friends, because it's all about how you feel and what will help you. Okay, have a fantastic rest of your day, and tomorrow is our excuse me, I'm getting excited. Tomorrow is our greatest day, so I hope you have a wonderful greatest day. So this will, I suppose, be my last video for you before half term. So enjoy your greatest day and celebrating your birthdays that have been for this half term. Have a fantastic time. Send us lots and lots of pictures, and I will see you after the half term. Make sure you rest, make sure you have lots of fun, and I will see you in spring 2 term. So see you later, guys. Well done.